Lucinda. I met Lucinda at Cafe Vesuvio. She arrived on time, breathless and glowing. She's the only person I've ever been able to describe accurately as blooming. We had some drinks, and while being recorded on a small recorder I still have in an old box somewhere, she told me with wide eyes she'd always wanted to be a dancer. When she and Sam had gone to Vegas a few years earlier, he'd taken her to see the showgirls, and she'd become obsessed with how beautiful they were. Her reasoning was so innocent, it was like interviewing an aspiring starlet in 1945 Hollywood. This is when she knew what she wanted to do, she said. She told me she wasn't interested in modern or classical dance. What she wanted to be was adored by men. After a while, she took me to the club. We sat in the dressing room and smoked and talked with the other girls. They gossiped and preened in the mirror in silky robes as if preparing to be sketched by Letouche-Lautrec. The shift changed and the dancers evacuated the stage, even as the others came in, put on their jeans and t-shirts and left. I studiously took notes in my notebook. Shift change, robes, many are art school students, shoes. Lucinda rose and got me some white go-go boots from the prop box. She undressed without speaking and put on high heels, then leaned into the mirror and painted her smooth lips poppy red. "Come on," she said, turning to me, "put on the boots." The indifference of her tone was mesmerizing. There was no discussion, no tiresome, would I, should I? I took off my clothes, hung them in the closet, zipped up the boots, then followed her gleaming shoulders into the hallway. We put out our cigarettes and ducked through the door to the stage. The other girls were already dancing. They waved to us and took our hands. It was not an erotic experience. It was cold and the air smelled like bleach. I was squeamish about touching the pole. None of this mattered, though. In the presence of Lucinda, she twirled, she glided, she prowled. The other girls tried, but they were nothing but paper dolls around her. Lucinda's leg went up to her ear, then past it to some other dimension. Through the one-way glass, I could see the shadows of heads gather next to her window. Eventually, 10 minutes, 20, she floated over and led me to a dark corner. "They don't keep it warm enough in here," she said, handing me a robe. We shared another cigarette, giggling, and she went out to dance again. I thought about how I would never tell my boyfriend about this, then of Sam, where he might be. Was he at home, stoned with his cat, reading Murakami, waiting for his shivering wife to return? We went back, dressed together, then ran out laughing to the sidewalk, as if an angry high school teacher were chasing us. My throat felt clogged from the cigarettes. Lucinda opened her jacket and pulled out the white boots. Her sequin purse slid down her shoulders as she held them proudly up in the air. "I stole these for you," she said, voice breathless, cheeks lit. It was one of those rare, pure moments. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? The tiny pause in your life you know is both nothing yet everything at the same time. I thought of Sam at the office at 6 in the morning, sitting in the dark to earn a few free hours with his wife. It made sense now, all of it. Lucinda. It was impossible not to be in love with her. A month later, the Twin Towers fell in New York. It took another month for the impact of this to hit California. It took away our foot warmers, and yoga class was canceled. Then one day in late October, my computer was locked and my belongings were waiting in a cardboard box. Sam, who must have been the first one to receive the news when he came in at 5 in the morning, was already gone. Suddenly there were no jobs anywhere. The blight had stricken within 3 weeks. I called the guy from the party about the dog walking job, but he didn't answer and his email bounced back. I signed up for unemployment, then wrote about 500 words in my afternoon with Lucinda and sent them to Sam. He never mentioned them, which I took to mean correctly they must have not been very good. The party was over and the smart money was going back east. Lucinda and Sam couldn't leave. What set them apart from the rest of us, of course, was that they hadn't come from families with money. So there was no safety net when things hit bottom. But Lucinda still had her job, so they were all right for now. We went to dinner from time to time in the cheap Vietnamese places in their neighborhood. Sam and I talked about books, and Lucinda picked at her food. But something was happening. Sam was getting thinner and angrier. One night we met for a drink without her, He looked horrible, too thin, with blue smudges beneath his eyes. Lucinda had moved from peep shows to a hardcore club, he said. She gave lap dances now and other things she couldn't talk about. He didn't know he was living on the money his wife made pleasing other men. I ended up leaving the city without seeing Sam and Lucinda again. It wasn't unusual at the time to leave without announcement. So many people were fleeing, the goodbye gatherers had become a joke. I called and left a message, then he left one for me. Did I need anything, he asked. There was a desperate tone in his voice. Pot, anything else. His unemployment was running out, so this is how he was making his living now. When I was growing up, my father would sometimes take me to our porch to deliver what he called life lectures. The room was warm and yellow. Sometimes we'd balance a chipped plate laid with salty crackers with cheese on the cushion between us. He would tell me about how some people survive hardship while others inevitably don't. How in those situations, no matter how I like those people, it is important to create distance. How a drowning man will pull you down with him, even if he doesn't want to. It's instinct, my father said. He liked to end these talks with slogans and quotes found on calendars in his doctor's office. Weed the garden and the flowers will grow. Life is not a dress rehearsal. Sam didn't sound good, and I did not know what to say to him. I thought of my dad, about how I was an adult now, 27, and in charge of my own life. There was no way I could help Sam, I reasoned. He had Lucinda, she could handle this. Getting involved would only be confusing, so I erased the message and continued to pack. I was wrong, and so was my father. I should have called back. I'll end there. The rest of this essay will be posted on my website. I'm going to start doing podcasts. I'm like 5 years behind. So the internet. But thank you very much.